Hey, I'm Kev Mr. and welcome to Power Oversteer. And in today's episode, we're previewing the 11th round of the 2013 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, the Belgian Grand Prix, the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And heading in to this round after the 4-week break, the summer break, we have Sebastian Vettel leading the championship again on 172 points, 38 ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, and who's 1 point ahead of Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton, after his win in Hungary last time out, was 124 points, 19 ahead of Mark Webber, who's in 5th. Nico Rosberg is 6th with 84 points. Felipe Massa has 61 points in 7th. Roman Grosjean in 8th on 49 points. Jenson Button with 39 points in 9th, ahead of Paul di Resta, who's got 36 points. He's ahead of his teammate Adrian Sutil, who's got 23 points. Sergio Perez has 18 points. John Vergne has 13 points, 2 ahead of his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Nico Hulkenberg in 15th with 7 points. And Pastor Maldonado, who got Williams' first point of this season, or first point, is in 16th with 1 point, ahead of his teammate Bottas, Esteban Gutierrez, Jules Bianchi who's 19th, Charles Pic, Guido van der Garde and Max Chilton rounds out the Drivers' Championship. In the Teams or Constructors' Championship, Red Bull looking good in that as well with 277 points, 69 ahead of Mercedes on 208. Ferrari down to 3rd with 194 points, only 11 ahead of Lotus. Force India in 5th. Oh, it's very tight with McLaren now, 59 points, playing 57. Toro Rosso in quite a lonely 7th with 24 points. Sauber with 7 points in 8th, but they got the look over their shoulders to Williams, who's now got a point in 9th. Marussia in 10th, courtesy of Jules Bianchi's 13th place in Malaysia, ahead of Caterham in the battle for 10th and some valuable dosh, I will say. And the news in that 4-week break, there was Sorokin, Sergei Sorokin, the controversial pay driver for Sauber, or looks like he's the pay driver for Sauber. No one knows if that deal has gone through yet, but he will get his first taste of an F1 car at Sochi in a demo next month. He visited the factory during the 4-week break, got to look inside the Sauber, get to know his car for that demo. Heikki Kovalainen has been confirmed for the free practice session 1 in Spa and in the next race at Monza. Kimi Raikkonen has been linked with every top team available. Fernando Alonso has even been linked with Red Bull, but that looks like a fantasy, as it seems like Daniel Ricciardo has emerged as the front runner to maybe get that seat ahead of Raikkonen. And that's been it. So it's been a very quiet summer break actually for the 4 weeks. We normally get these crazy driver moves expected, but not much is going on. During this week we've seen Nico Hulkenberg be very strongly linked with Ferrari as well, and that's all I've got on the driver front. It's like John Vergne has resigned to Toro Rosso for next year, and he kind of confirmed that in the driver's press conference. When he got an answer saying, "Are you in the frame for Red Bull drive?" He like it was very PC answer there. So that's some of the news. I'm sure I've missed something. I normally do, but there wasn't much news after that summer break, it seems. So on to that. Let's go on to this next segment of the preview, which is all, of course, the track facts. So, track facts for the Belgian Grand Prix held at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, just over 7 kilometers long, with 70,000 crowd capacity in the Francorchamps region, Spa in Belgium, next to Ardennes Forest. Of course, it's held F1 here. It's also famous for its endurance race in the Spa 24 hours and the 1,000-kilometer Spa endurance races. And Spa, it's in its gun, guys, since 2000 2007. It used to be with a bit of a modified bus stop chicane. 2004 to 2006 was extended a bit, but then the classic arrangement that I know from growing up, the modern circuit from 1981 to 1993, then 1995 to 2003. There was a gap there for 1994 because they put in a ridiculous chicane at El Rouge, and then the old circuit from 1947 to 1978, the famous 14.1 kilometre circuit, which went through some nearby villages on public roads. It was fast, it was fearsome, it was very dangerous. And the original pre-war circuit from 1921 to 1939, which featured a bit of a, it didn't actually go through El Rouge, they turned left and went round a hairpin and then came back onto the now Camel Straight, which was a bit bendier back then. It was a bit straighter now. And the Spa circuit, it's got 20 turns. The first one, of course, that famous, the Source hairpin. Then you go and rise up the hill through El Rouge and Radion, then down the Camel Straight, then to the right hander at the top hill there, Coombe, and that's going to be a prime passing start, especially with DRS on the Camel Straight. And the DRS, the other zone, is on the Pit Straight. And then you go out of the Coombe and you go through the right hand of Normandy, then down the hill to Rivage, very tricky braking zone for that right hand, and then the left hander with the corner with no name, which ironically does seem to have a name. And then you go through the double left hander, Pouhon, the great challenge on this circuit, now that El Rouge is basically flat. And then you go through Fangia in the middle section, very fast right and left, and then you go down the hill to Stabilo, tricky right hander down there, and then you go and rejoin the old circuit, the old former Self or Spa, and the old 14 kilometre circuit. Join that straight through Curve de Paul Frere, the famous Belgian racing driver from the 1960s. Then you got the fearsome left hander of Blanchemont in the wet, less so in the dry, before the sloppy last chicane at the bus stop. And so that is a lap of Spa, and that record is a 147.263 on this configuration from Sebastian Vettel in his Red Bull in 2009. And it is a track that is very good for the Germans. Michael Schumacher has got the most wins here, as you probably would expect, with 6, ahead of Ayrton Senna, who has 5 wins, Jim Clark, who has 4 wins, 4 in a row in the 1960s from 61 to 64, if I remember correctly. Then you got Kimi Raikkonen, who's got the most of the current drivers of 4 wins as well in the thousands, the last one in 2009. Juan Manuel Fangio, he's got 3 wins here, including the first race post-war in 1950 in the official Formula 1 World Championship. Damon Hill has 3 wins from the 90s, of course that famous win in 98, the first one for Jordan. 2 for Alberto Ascari in 52 and 53 championship years. Niki Lauda has 2 wins, Alain Prost has 2 wins, as well as the first race, including the first race here back in 1983 on this new configuration, or it was then, 30 years ago. And Emerson Fittipaldi has 2 Belgian Grand Prix wins, but not at this circuit. That was at the Nives circuit in 72 and 74 in his Lotus and McLaren. Apologies if I said that wrong, but that wasn't a popular circuit. It was flat, it was dull, it had big runoff areas. The spectators complained about not being close to the action. Remind you of some current circuits maybe, but yeah, that was the most successful drivers around here, most successful constructors in the Belgian Grand Prix. Ferrari with 16 wins, McLaren with 14. I'm not sure they're going to close the gap this weekend. 8 for Lotus, 4 for Alfa Romeo, including 2 pre-war wins. And Williams has 4 wins, 3 for Bugatti, but they're all pre-war wins. You've got Mercedes-Benz with only 1 post-war win in 1955. Then you got 2 for Benetton with Schumacher in 92 and 95. And Maserati with 1 post-war win in 54. And they won the first event in... No, they didn't. It was Alfa Romeo. They won the first event. Was the Spa Francorchamps of the Belgian Grand Prix in 1925 with Antonio Ascari. You might recognise the surname. Yes, he is the father of Alberto Ascari, the 52 and 53 World Championship with Ferrari. He won his Alfa Romeo in 6 hours and 42 minutes. I'm not sure the race is going to go on that long this time, and there are only 2 finishers out of 8 starters and 8 starters out of 12 qualifiers. He beat his teammate Giuseppe Campari to the flag, and they were the only 2 finishers, as I said. And Campari, another pre-war legend, and unfortunately for Ascari, this was his last victory. Less than a month later, he would die while leading the French Grand Prix, and then sadly his son would die in very strange and similar circumstances. You have to look that up, the similar circumstances between Antonio Ascari and Alberto Ascari. But as I said, Spa has hosted this race most of the time since 1985. It's been off the calendar a couple of times since then, 2003 due to tobacco laws, and in 2006 I just couldn't quite get an agreement to get the race going in that calendar, and that's why I missed it on F106. It would have been great on that. But apart from Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix has been, as I said, at Nice in 1970, 1974, that deeply unpopular track, and also at Zolder as well. Well, Spa, after its last run on the old configuration, for the 14-kilometer configuration circuit in 1970, when Pedro Rodriguez won the last of his 2 Grand Prix in the BRM. He went off the calendar for 71, the Belgian Grand Prix, and then came back at Nice, and then Zolder in 73, then Nice, and then Zolder from 75 to 82. And unfortunately in 1982, Gilles Villeneuve died at the circuit in practice, when in practice he, well, not fast that, maybe, still having pain and anger from the previous race in San Marino, when his teammate Didier Pironi snatched the win from him on the last lap, or what he thought snatched the win from him on the last lap. He came up behind Jochen Mass and sadly clipped with him his cast on assault that he was thrown from the car, and he died from his injuries later that night. And so Zolder, it didn't actually have a couple of great races there as well. There was, problems on the grid. There was in 1981 or in 82 even, on the grid there was the stalled arrows, and sadly another arrows came behind, hit a guy who was trying to kick-start that arrows. He got majorly injured, and Spa doesn't have the greatest history either in F1. It had one of the darkest weekends in F1 history in 1960, when Sterling Moss had damage to his car, crashed at Burnenville. I'm rubbish at saying this in practice. And then in the race, Chris Briscoe and Alan Stacey died within 15 minutes of each other, with Briscoe just doing an aggressive move going into the banks, and Stacey actually got hit in the face by a bird, and that meant he lost control at 140 miles per hour. But this track also saw the start of the safety revolution, when Sir Jackie Stewart crashed here in his BRM at the Massa Kink, the fearsome Massa Kink. It used to be around 150 miles per hour, and Jackie Stewart lost it there in 1966. BRM, the fuel tank burst, there was fuel around it. Lots of F1 drivers had to save him, like Graham Hill I think saved him in the end. His teammate dragged him out of the car, and some nuns got surprised when they found him naked next to the track. But this is where Jackie Stewart started his safety crusade, and the old Spa was really disliked by a few drivers, including Jim Clark, as I said, won 4 times in a row, got his first F1 points here in that 1960 race, but deeply disliked that track after 2 of his teammates there got killed. And Jackie Stewart as well disliked it, and just because of the immense speeds it used to have. But now Spa much safer, so there's not much I can add about Spa, I think. And the old track as well, last victory before pre-war was 1939 with Herman Lang in his Mercedes, and first post-war win was 1950 with Juan Manuel Fangio in the Alfa Romeo. And Spa, one of those circuits steeped in history and tradition, one of the rare ones, 4 of them from the first F1 World Championship, of course, championship season in 1950 with Silverstone, with Monaco and with Monza. No longer have the Indy 500 on this calendar, that would be a bit weird now, or the Swiss Grand Prix where racing is banned, or the French Grand Prix at Wilms, because that is now probably a forest. So yeah, that is facts about the Belgium Grand Prix, about Spa with its all modifications in 2007, 2010 as well. And with all those track facts, how about we do some predictions now? So predictions for the Belgian Grand Prix, and last year we saw Jenson Button win with the fastest lap from Bruno Senna, who's only won in Formula 1. Jenson Button won from Sebastian Vettel, and I don't see that happening this year, Button winning from pole like that. I don't see Grosjean doing another first corner incident like he had last year, getting that race banned for it, which was a bit harsh, but it was a build up of loads of incidents. And Grosjean much better this year, and I think he could be in the chance with maybe a podium if the Lotus is performing very well here. Of course, look out for Kimi Räikkönen be on that podium, most successful driver or current driver around there, and he could maybe even add to his 4 wins here and join Senna as the second most successful driver around here. Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull, I'm not sure about them. Depends how much time they gain in that middle sector to the time they, especially losing the first sector to the straight line speed, and maybe in the third sector as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see how that pays off. It could be Red Bull versus Mercedes. I expect Mercedes to be very strong with Hamilton round here, with Nico Rosberg as well to finally get back up there after a couple of races in Hungary and Germany. And so I think this will be a duel between Red Bull and Mercedes again, maybe with Lotus joining in as well. I think I'm going to go for the victory. I think I'm going to go for Lewis Hamilton to get a win here ahead of Raikkonen, and then Vettel in third, because I don't see Vettel ending this run or finishing outside the top 4 when he's finished a race. He's always been in the top 4, and I don't see that streak ending here now. I expect Raikkonen to finish ahead of him though in that Lotus. I don't expect Ferrari to maybe be right up there. I think they'll be a bit better than they were in Hungary, but I still expect Alonso to be maybe just top 5 behind maybe Mark Webber, who's done quite well here in the past, or even behind Nico Rosberg and maybe even Ronan Grosjean, as I said. Best of the midfield, and I think McLaren are maybe they've creeped ahead of Force India, who've struggled with these tyres in the last 2 races it seems. So I expect McLaren to be right up there, getting some solid points again and maybe snatching 5th in the championship ahead of Force India. I expect Toro Rosso to again be there for points. They've gone well in here in the past, and I expect Toro Rosso to get maybe a point or 2 with Fern and Ricciardo. Look out for Pastor Maldonado as well in the Williams. This seems to be a track where he does very well. 2011 got his first point in F1 here. Last year qualified very well and then got a super getaway just before the lights went off though. And yeah, then he tagged Glock and ended his race. But he does have good pace round Spa. It's probably his best circuit. So I do expect him again maybe be challenging for a point or 2 in that Williams, which looks a bit improved now. And it looks like it can challenge Sauber maybe for that 8th place in the constructors. And Sauber, they got above the tyre wear, and Hulkenberg's done well here in the past, finished 4th here last year, was battling with Raikkonen for that podium spot. So yeah, maybe look for Hulkenberg to get some points as well. It's going to be really tight in that midfield. I'm saying everyone for the points it seems in the midfield, but it is going to be so tight I think between Toro Rosso, between Sauber or Hulkenberg, and between Williams with Maldonado. I think it's going to be very close between them, and I expect Force India to maybe they'll still drop back a bit. I think they might not get some points, even with the Mercedes power, even with the history here at Spa, with the pole with ElusiveKev in 2009 almost getting the win as well, finishing 2nd. Their only podium in F1 Force India, but it doesn't look like quite on top of the tyres. I'm not sure the summer break would be enough time to fix that, but maybe they can be in the hunt there with Toro Rosso, with Maldonado, with Hulkenberg. Best of the newer teams, I think it's maybe going to go to Caterham. They got the better power plant with the Renault, and it looks like their car is generally better than the Marussia, and so I expect maybe Charles Pitt to do a bit better than Jules Bianchi this time. Guido van der Garde to be right up there as well after a very confident performance in Hungary. His best performance in F1 so far, with a 14th place ahead of Charles Pitt, even though he was on the optimum strategy, 3-stop strategy compared to Pitt's 2, but maybe not for Van der Garde again to be mixing it with his teammate. So that's my predictions for the Belgian Grand Prix. I was going to say Lewis Hamilton to win ahead of Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and that is my preview of the 2013 FI Formula 1 World Championship 11th round, the Belgian Grand Prix. I'll be back with my 200th video on this channel. That'll be back at the weekend. I'm going to record it today and hopefully edit it tomorrow so it can go up on Saturday. And then I've got reviews, of course, of Sonoma and the IndyCar, and of course this Belgium Grand Prix. So till then, salamat for watching. Cheerio.